This weekend, I competed in YCS Raleigh in a field of 1,901 players. Given that we had a ban list just go into effect, I miss you, Barone, I made the executive decision to take a deck not named Sword Soul for the first time at a Tier 2 event or higher in almost 2 years. This decision really saddened me, as Moye is the greatest normal summon of our time, but alas, without Barone, the deck can simply not keep up in a Nibiru-dominated format, Protoss or no Protoss, due to how prevalent not only Nibiru was, but also how popular hand traps in general were. I did not feel comfortable taking a chance on Sword Soul with a heavier Tenny lineup, with Vessel in main to make Chow Fang, as I still could lose to an Imperm thrown at Moye unless I open exactly long one. The issue with that is that at the end of the main phase, I still lose without Barone because if my opponent has a Nibiru, I just lose my entire board. Given this, I made the executive decision to switch up decks last minute and play something that I've actually never showcased on the channel up to this point. That deck is none other than Live Twin Sprite. Live Twin Sprite is a deck that I've experimented with previously but never have showcased on the channel. Given how I felt about the ban list and my general fatigue with the game leading into the YCS, I felt that I really had nothing to lose by playing Live Twin Sprite, as I was mainly just interested in doing the regional qualifier side events on day 2 of the YCS anyway. But why Live Twin Sprite? Given what I mentioned earlier about the dominance of not only Nibiru but other hand traps such as Ash Blossom and Infinite Impermanence, the idea of playing Live Twin Sprite made me feel the most comfortable. There are many points during the Live Twin and Sprite lines that are common hand trap magnets, but in reality, the hand traps thrown at you during points where you might get hand trapped don't actually end your turn. For example, let's pretend your opponent has 2 or so hand traps. We'll just assume that your opponent has an Ash Blossom and an Infinite Impermanence. Most often, my opponent would choose to interact with me, especially game 1, when I would normal summon one of the 2 Live Twin monsters. So let's assume that a hand trap has been used on either Kiss-a-Kill or Leela. So how would we continue? Literally any sprite monster that isn't red or carrot extends here. If we have Sunny Snitch, we can add Kiss-a-Kill Frost in the instance that we normal summon Leela and go full sprite combo regardless of their hand trap. Assuming that they have an Ash for the Sunny Snitch, then where do we go? Just like before, if we have starter or any sprite name in hand, their second hand trap doesn't matter either. And with a quarter of our deck being sprite names / starter, this is pretty likely. Obviously, these are very specific examples that don't always come into fruition, but some of these circumstances are worth mentioning given how often the hand traps like Imperm, Ash, and Valor are being played. The deck presents an end board consisting of not only negates in the form of monsters, but also spell and trap interruptions as well. Thus, post-siding going first, it is more feasible to avoid losing to equalizers such as Dark Ruler no more. I was Dark Rulered in the Floowandereeze matchup in Game 3 early on day 1, and I still managed to win because of hand traps and smashers and double cross. Regarding the middle to the end of our turn, Nibiru is in quite a number of main decks at the given moment in the format. Unfortunately for Nibiru, Gigantic Sprite actually has text on it. Being Nibiru proof means that Game 1, your opponent is very likely going to have a hand consisting of cards that are entirely dead against you. I had a lot of people activating Diabell Star, discarding Nibiru for cost going second, which I must admit I found pretty funny. Additionally, if your Gigantic gets negated, we also have Nibiru protection in the form of Sprite Red. Now, I'll be realistic. While we are pretty free from the plight of Nibiru and are largely unaffected by generics like Ash or Imperm, we get absolutely FTK'd by Droll outside of exactly starter summoning blue and adding Jet or Red in the draw phase. We're down bad if we get Drolled. No Jet, no blue, no Kiss-a-Kill draw, no Sunny Snitch, no Desires, and no ability to really extend. You'd honestly be lucky if you'd be able to establish 1 or 2 interruptions under a Droll. But with all that theory out of the way, let's actually take a look at the deck list.
Hindsight is always 20/20, but I do think that there are definitely some areas where some changes definitely could have been made to optimize the list. Against my initial inclinations, I main decked a Nibiru for the event. This slot definitely should have gone to Droll and Lockbird. Several Snake Eye matchups of mine started with my opponent activating Bonfire. Droll would have been a really nice Chainlink 2 on Poplar effect to summon itself. Being able to cut off the wanted draw on the field spell add off of Poplar would have been a crazy good punish. I debated with myself constantly after the event concluded whether I should have been playing 2 or 3 Jet, but I can see both sides of that argument. An increased likelihood of me opening Jet means that my blue search can be dedicated to red or carrot depending on the situation or matchup. The one game 3 I bricked was due to not seeing enough starters. I had a lone Jet in hand with no other level 2s in hand. I found out later that my opponent only had engines, so if I'd been able to establish a board, it was over. Also, fun fact I didn't know, Nibiru doesn't auto-kill Salad anymore. They can play through it like it's nothing. That being said, Droll can be really painful for them depending on the hand. I wasn't initially playing Ghost Ogre in main deck, but a friend of mine at one of my locals suggested to me that Ogre is a really strong card into the format, specifically against Voiceless Voice. Spoiler, it was. As for the side, Pank, Evenly, and Ruler went really hard going second as expected. Droplet didn't really make an appearance a whole lot of my matchups. Pank is an insta-check on SP and IP and goes really hard against Appaloosa as well. D-Barrier might have gone into my deck exactly one time over the entire weekend, but I did dodge a lot of the branded that was said to be pretty much everywhere. Either way, Evenly Matched and Solemn Judgment were the 2 MVPs of the side the entire weekend. Regarding the extra deck, I don't really think anything here seems to be out of the ordinary. This is just a generic Live Twin Sprite extra deck. I will say that I summoned SP Little Knight exactly 0 times over the course of 2 days, so that was fun. I drove like half an hour to borrow it for nothing. Very cool. But all in all, that's the list. As far as the matchups go, they're probably matchups that you could expect, maybe -1 or 2. I played against Snake Eye 6 times, or some version of Snake Eye. I played against 1 Voiceless Voice, 1 Flu, 1 Salamangreat, that's a bold choice. I can't say anything though, he beat me. And then 1 Tri-Brigade Sprite. So a pretty neat mix of decks. I ended day 2 8-3, which unfortunately was not good enough for top cut. Even several X2s failed to make it in. That being said, I was still very proud of myself for accomplishing a goal that I didn't think I even made for myself, which is making day 2 of a YCS. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For 8 years now. I've come a long way, but never for a single second did I think realistically that I'd make it to day 2 of a YCS, especially not while on a deck that I picked up 3 days prior to that YCS and didn't play test literally at all except one time. Maybe it's luck, maybe it's skill, maybe it's both, but whatever it is, it reminded me of how much I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I was at the point a few days ago where I felt that YCS Raleigh was going to be my last Yu-Gi-Oh! Event, given how I felt about the game at the time and how I felt about not being able to play Sword Soul anymore. However, given the result of this weekend, I may have to reconsider that decision. Live Twin Sprite is incredibly fun and versatile, and I thoroughly enjoy playing it. But even more than that was the remembering of how fun it is to go to large events with a lot of your friends and just hang out. It's a really wonderful time, and I forgot how much I truly enjoyed that part of the game. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. It's Ed DMD, and your boy is out.